internet, people. So in the past sort of week, I read every book by Alice Oseman. So this is the big stack that I have right now. I'm gonna try and lift it up. It's really big for this camera angle. I'm trying not to hit anything. Okay, I own some of these. Some of these are library books. Oh, this is very difficult to pick up. Ta-da! And they're not all here. Okay, so if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm also CliffGo Ever After over there. I read all 5, oh, they're so heavy, of the Heartstopper graphic novels. So I read all 5 of these, and I read the 2 like companion novellas, This Winter and Nick and Charlie. I read those technically 2 weeks ago. I did that like right before I started the Winterween reading challenge. So I had already read the first 4. I read them last year. So I'd read those 4, and then I reread them before I read 5, which just came out in December of 2023. But I wanted to do a big reread before I read it. So I read all 5 of the bound graphic novels. And then my library had This Winter and Nick and Charlie. Now, This Winter technically takes place during the events of book 4, but I couldn't get a hold of it while I was reading these. I had to wait a little bit. So I read This Winter, and then I read Nick and Charlie once I finished volume 5. So if you don't know what Heartstopper is, I feel like that's possibly her like best known series, solely because the Netflix series also exists. It follows Nick and Charlie, who Nick is like in rugby, very sporty, assumed to be straight, and Charlie has been outed at his school previously, and he is 1 year younger than Nick, but he is gay. He does like boys, but he hasn't really dated anyone. He's been in a situationship that's kind of gross, not because of him. The other person in this relationship is in the closet and very mean to Charlie throughout. That becomes its own subplot with Charlie and Ben. Ben also appears in some of her other works. That is a thing that occurs in a lot of Oseman's books. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. Other characters will appear throughout, so like they might pop up in a book you're not expecting, but it's all like sort of in the same universe. It's like the Heartstopper universe. So we are following their relationship from like initial, don't even really know if Nick is into Charlie on Charlie's end, to full-blown relationship. And we're at the point in the series where Nick is debating about where to go to college. He has determined where he would like to go to college. This is also a little tricky for me because it's the English school system. Like, we're in England, and I know it's different to the American school system, but I'm just gonna say college. It might be university. I'm gonna say it wrong. I'm really, really sorry. It is like about the same age though, because it's like you're 18 when it happened. So college, university, whatever. For the sake of this, we don't need to get into the differences, I suppose. But we're following their relationship, and there are a lot of things that occur. It's not just like young love. That is there. The core is sort of like their young love evolving into something more. But Nick is struggling with the fact that he doesn't really want to leave for college. And then Charlie is finding ways to cope with an eating disorder, OCD, and a self-harm issue that does arise. Not super frequently, but it is something that does come up. So we're following their story. There are some additional characters, but they're really the core of the story. Now, This Winter, the novella that is set like sort of in the middle of volume 4, it involves all the springs. So Charlie, his sister Tori, and his younger brother Oliver. We get mostly chapters from Tori and Charlie, but Oliver does get a tiny bit. And it's about this very horrible holiday that's occurring. Charlie has just come back from treatment. He's trying to like have a good time with his family, but things are very stressful. Relatives are visiting who don't really understand what's going on. He and Nick like don't get as much time together. It's very stressful for everyone. So we're seeing like how this holiday is affecting, or this winter is affecting everyone. Then Nick and Charlie is set kind of after volume 5, I believe. That's when I read it. And it involves, it's a lot more emotional, and it really involves the fact that Charlie does not want Nick to go to college, but he doesn't want to hold him back. And then Nick is worried about going to university, college, because he doesn't want to leave Charlie alone. So this turns into a huge fight. There's a lot of emotions. The two don't talk to each other for an extended period of time. So we really get into like moving past very difficult moments and how you cope with having to be long distance, the thought of being long distance, what their relationship will look like. Also, another couple breaks up that kind of sends Charlie into a spiral, like, should we break up if you're going to be gone? Like, what should we do? So those are all encompassing Nick and Charlie's story. Now, in the other books, because we're going to get into sort of, I think, in the best order. This is the order I read them in, but you can read them in any order. I've literally looked online and it says like, you can read in any order, do whatever you want. So I read Solitaire next, which is Tori's story. And this just turned 10 years old, or is about to turn 10 years old this year. This is the 10-year anniversary edition. It's a less than normal library book. I get it for less time because it is newer. It's not new to, oh, my phone is ringing. I will be back. Okay, hi, I'm back. So, sorry, I'm expecting a phone call, so I have to like get up and grab my phone anytime it rings, which is not very often, but today I really need it to like pay attention. Anyway, Solitaire is Tori's story. So it is also vaguely set in like volumes 4 to 5 realm of Heartstopper. And in this, we are really getting how Tori is kind of also coping with everything. She is the oldest sister. She feels like she should have known something was going on with Charlie. She should never like miss if he's having an issue or if he needs help. And it's sort of her just like contending with the fact that she doesn't really know what to do. She very much reminded me of me as a teenager. I was also an older sister. And she's just sort of like, she doesn't really care about anything right now. Like, she's just sort of getting by. She doesn't really want to have to go to school or deal with anything. But she winds up meeting, I've read so many names, Michael Holden, who is just sort of curious. He is very interested in talking to her. He like really wants to know about Tori. And while all this is going on, this odd internet thing called Solitaire has popped up, and it's like running pranks. It's doing just like very odd things. But the problem is Solitaire is escalating in behavior, and everything that's happening, Tori's like, all of this seems like it could be related to me. And she's like, the universe does not revolve around you, Tori. Like, obviously not. This can't be the case. The issue is, kind of might be the case. Everything that Solitaire is doing involves something that at one point or another Tori has had an interest in. So she's just she doesn't want to care about Solitaire, then she becomes fixated on Solitaire, and then things just take a wild turn as the story evolves. I don't really want to give too much away. I believe there are trigger warnings in this, but it just gets very intense. And we also see a relationship evolving between Michael Holden and Tori, but the issue is that like Tori doesn't know if she really wants to be in a relationship. I will say they're not in the graphic novels. There are mentions of this, but Nick and Charlie are not ace. A lot of the characters in her other books are ace, or there is an ace character, or the character doesn't really feel sexual or romantic connections, depending. In this, the author has said that Tori is asexual. That did come out in volume 5. Like, she does tell Charlie, because she just doesn't know. She doesn't know, like, if she wants to have a relationship. She doesn't understand, like, how that would work, because she doesn't really want to do certain things. So I really related, like, my teen self was very much in Tori. Like, I was like, oh, I feel very like kinshiped to Tori because we seem to have had a similar inner monologue at certain points. So I enjoyed Solitaire. It is super short. It's like novella sized. So I read that. And then the next one I read is the one that I hear referenced the most outside of Heartstopper, and it is Loveless. So the focus of Loveless is Georgia, who is headed off to university. She's never kissed a boy or a girl, because she's like, I don't know if I want to be with anyone. Like I like had this crush for 7 years, and then she realizes like, well, no, I guess I didn't. Like I wasn't really into him. Like I didn't want him to kiss me, because a boy does try to kiss her at a party, and she's like, no, no, don't do that. And so this story is a lot about Georgia coming to understand herself and her feelings. Now, as the story progresses, Georgia does learn that she is aro-ace, or aromantic asexual, and she is not interested in romantic partnerships, in any sort of sexual activity. Now, the aro-ace spectrum is very broad, and this does come up in some of the other books, but Georgia specifically does not want to kiss anyone, have sex, date. She realizes she's just not interested in it, even though she has always loved romance and the idea of romance. She reads fanfic. She just always thought that she would get married one day and like have this life that she sees so many people having. And then throughout this, she's dealing with the fact that, one, she has gone to university and is outside of her sort of like safety net. Her two very best friends are at a different college like nearby. This threw me off a little. It's like one university with different colleges in it, from what I understood. And she is just at a different one, so she doesn't see them as much. She wound up with a roommate, and she wasn't expecting a roommate, but she and her roommate are getting closer in a friend way. We just watch as Georgia learns more about herself, finds herself in situations where she like is trying to determine if this is what she wants, if this is what she doesn't want. So this is a lot about determining who you are, understanding what you want and who you are. And there is a fun little like romance thing happening between these two. Let me see if their names are on here. I've read so many names in the past few days that my brain is just like not remembering any of them, but it's her roommate and her best friend. Oh, the best friend's name is Pip. I remember Pip. Why can't I remember her roommate's name? Rooney. Pip and Rooney. There's a thing with Pip and Rooney, which is very cute. So I also enjoyed Loveless. Loveless, just personally for me, was not exactly like, I enjoyed reading it, but I personally just didn't relate to it as much. If you can't tell, I identify as bisexual. I am married. You can be aromantic and bisexual. You could even like Georgia Georgia is not, but there are characters who are interested in like any gender and are asexual. I enjoyed this story, but it was more like adjusting to college for me, which at this point in my life was not something I absolutely related to anymore. But I get it. I also didn't live in a dorm in college. I lived at home. So my college experience is a little different. So there's that one. Loveless also does have characters from Heartstopper appear briefly, which I thought was fun. And this also happens in my favorite read of the entire setup. But I just got a text notification. So I'm very sorry. One moment. Okay, I'm very sorry for the suspense and all the breaks. In editing, they will be less bad, but it's a very weird day. I'm just like waiting for phone calls, things are going on, even though it's very early. Normally I have nothing to worry about this early in the morning, which is why I thought I would film this, but it's a weird day. But favorite book of the entire reading experience, Radio Silence. So in this we follow Frances, who in her life kind of has two personalities. She has school Frances, who is head girl, only really does homework, doesn't really like hang out outside of like studying. She occasionally hangs out with friends, but like she feels like she's not really herself around them. She's just sort of this person that they know who's just like really into schoolwork. But in her like private life, she is Toulouser or Toulouse. She does fan art for this podcast / YouTube channel called University. She's very immersed in the fandom. She's very into it. And while she like does all of this, she is contacted by the creator, so the person who makes University, and that person asks if she will make art for the show. And she's so excited, but she like doesn't know what to do, because she's like, what if people find out that I make this art? Like, then my personality is like, people will know that I am obsessed with this podcast and I don't really want people to know. Like, I just want people to know that I'm School Frances, because like her goal is to get into Cambridge. Like, she's just like, I'm going to get into Cambridge. And that's like her big goal. She's done all this stuff in her life to go to Cambridge. So as the story progresses, she winds up learning the identity of University's creator. And what you should know is another character in the story, Aled, he is a character in Heartstopper. He is one of Nick and Charlie's friends. He is a full character. We find out all the things happening in his life in this. But we are only getting Frances's point of view. So Frances is our narrator. So we only find out things through Frances. So she winds up finding out that he is the creator because he's a little drunk and just kind of tells her. And from there, the two of them start forming a friendship. He's lived across the street from her. She was friends with his sister, who, to her knowledge, ran away and has gone missing. Like, no one knows where she is. They have no idea what has happened. So as we're following this, the two of them are getting closer. We learn more about Aled and his friend Daniel. And as things keep going, Aled is supposed to go to school, but he keeps saying he doesn't really want to go to university, but he has to go. And Frances is frequently worried that something is going on at home because he never really wants her to meet his mother. When she does meet his mother, because it just happens, she comes home while Frances is over. It sounds like Aled is sort of like reserving himself. He's just very uncomfortable. So Frances is concerned about him and his home life, but she's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. We get a lot more into that as the story progresses. And as that is all going on, people are starting to figure, or at least trying to figure out, who is behind University, how Frances could be involved, and all of this is in a larger plot of what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I just really, really enjoyed this. So sorry. I was really into like everything that Welcome to Night Vale did. Like, I listened to Welcome to Night Vale. I'm pretty behind on it right now. Within the Wires, Alice Isn't Dead. There was one with a circus, and I cannot remember the name of it right now, but there was one with a circus. And I just like listened to everything. I was like very immersed in it. I even have the books behind me. I've read most of those. Two of those are the script books. I have not read the most recent one, even though it's like signed and I was really excited, but I just haven't read it yet. But I was really into that. And this is not compared, but Welcome to Night Vale is mentioned. So it seems like we're supposed to get the idea they're in a similar vein. There's also discussions of identity, what that identity can mean. There's another discussion of asexuality in this, led by another character who describes it differently and how that character relates to that label. It's so good. I was just like so invested and I did not want to stop reading. Like, I was just like, this is amazing. So this was my favorite. And then the final book, which is very interestingly, so I Was Born for This is sort of akin to Radio Silence. So it also deals with fandom. But in this situation, because we do see the dark side of fandom in Radio Silence, you also see it in I Was Born for This. But in this one, we are focusing on a boy band called The Ark. And it's dueling perspectives, whereas Radio Silence is just Frances. But we're getting Angel and Jimmy. So Angel is a huge fangirl for The Ark. She is going to visit someone she met online named Juliet, and they are going to meet The Ark. They're going to a concert. Like, she's so excited for all of these things to happen. Now, the other person we're following is Jimmy, who is the trans member of The Ark. Now, Jimmy's trans identity is not like a core aspect of the story. This is more just about Jimmy and how he is contending with being in this boy band and how the work that they will have to do is going to escalate with their new contract. But it is mentioned, it is brought up. There's a discussion of how interviewers keep asking him questions about being trans, typically only older interviewers. And so that does come up, but it's more as like, that's just how he identifies, like that's who he is. But it is not like the core aspect of the story. The story is actually, a lot of what's happening to Jimmy is he has a panic disorder and it is getting worse with all the work the band is doing. Articles come out that are causing him to be more anxious. And through all of this, Angel is contending with the fact that maybe The Ark is not the end all be all. It won't fix all of her problems. she may need to look at something else in life beyond the boy band. But she somehow winds up very involved in things that are going on in this story, including meeting a bandmate's girlfriend, and saving a member of the Ark from a horde of fans. The story is all about like trying to figure out who you are, growing your sort of personality away from just being a fan of something, like finding the thing that makes you you and really loving that part of yourself. This one was still a very good read. It's just, I've never been really into boy bands, and I knew this one was going to be a struggle for me because it is a lot about like boy band and band culture, and I'm just like not invested in that. Nothing against this book. I knew this was going to happen. I would say of all of them, this one was probably my least favorite, but Angel might be one of my favorite characters. So that's what's a little tricky. I really loved Angel. Like watching Angel, seeing Angel, going throughout the story. I just like the plot of this one was not one that I was like super invested in, even when I added it to the list. I don't really know how to rank these because one, I don't have the two novellas here, This Winter and Nick and Charlie, and like the Heartstopper graphic novels feel like just like one large thing. I will say Radio Silence was my absolute favorite. I would say for the novels, it would probably be Radio Silence, Solitaire, Loveless, and then I Was Born for This as my like breakdown of which ones I enjoyed the most. And then I still enjoyed all of them, but like that would be the order. And I do kind of want to buy Radio Silence, just to, like have it, because I think I would reread it. And I just borrowed it from my library. And then Heartstopper is just Heartstopper. And I feel like the novellas sort of like fit into those. So like those two specific novellas kind of count as part of that universe. Now that was a lot of reading. I know this isn't a vlog, this is just a video. I decided not to vlog because we've basically been snowed in for a week, which is delightful. We've just gotten a ton of snow. Basically I've just been reading, working, removing snow, cooking dinner, sleeping. I feel like that's really all that's been going on in my life like the past week. So I just thought I would share my thoughts on all of those. If you've read all of these, or if you've read some of them, I would love to know what your favorite Alice Oseman book is, or like if there's ones that you haven't read yet that you're looking forward to reading. After this, I have a random book I need to read that I'm looking forward to, but I'm trying to figure out if I want to read a series. So if you've gotten this far in this very odd little video, I, ages and ages ago, read the first book in the Vampire Academy series and the first book in the Twilight series a long, long time ago. I'm not going to tell you what I thought of either of those things, but I'm trying to figure out if I want to actually just like read the Twilight series so that I know officially what happened in it. Or if I want to read the Vampire Academy series, because I do love a vampire like long form series. I was obsessed with House of Night, and I think I would like Vampire Academy, maybe. I don't know. So if you've read, I feel like everyone's read Twilight, but if you've read Twilight or Vampire Academy, please let me know what you would like me to read in the comments, because I don't know. I haven't decided, but yeah, just let me know. I need to edit this wild Mama Jamma that was just supposed to be like a sit down, like clip the ends off post kind of thing, but that's not what's happening. But yes, let me know your favorite Alice Oseman thing. I keep wanting to call her Emily Osment, which is not her fault. I don't know why. I think I'm just tired. But your favorite Oseman book or Heartstopper universe book, let me know. And also let me know if you'd rather I read Twilight or Vampire Academy. I just don't know. Just tell me in the comments, please. You can also find me on Instagram, I mentioned, but I'm Clefco over there too. But yes, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of me, you can subscribe. I have lots of like bookish and movie content up right now. But I'm gonna go because I'm cold in this outfit. I need to go grab a sweatshirt and also drink some more coffee. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, internet people.